Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another Rangers Review Europa League preview special as we look ahead to Thursday's clash with Olympiacos in Athens. It brings me great joy to say we're joined on the line today by Ari, who is part of the very successful Olympiacos podcast, 3 Lost 7 International. He joins us from the good old US of A across the pond. Ari, thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. Love chatting Olympiacos, and it's a very exciting fixture we have ahead of us today.
Yeah,
Or, sorry, this week.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but in terms of yourself, Ari, of course, big Olympiacos fan over in America. Where does your love for the team come from?
So when I started playing football growing up, the only team we could watch here, Premier League, was Arsenal.
Mm.
And so for the Premier, Arsenal and Manchester United were really the only games we could get over here. And my grandfather, my babu, as we say in Greek, he wanted to make sure that whatever I was doing, especially playing football, regardless, that I had something to of Greece to be connected to. Now, my grandfather grew up in the port of Piraeus. That's where he was from, and the team of the port of Piraeus is Olympiacos. He
Mm.
wasn't really a big sports fan in general, let alone football. But because I was very big into football growing up and I was playing, he wanted to make sure I had not just the Greek national team, but a club team to support. And so he got me into Olympiacos.
Fantastic stuff. And yeah, they've been going great guns, especially last season. A real remarkable campaign. I know the two teams met in a pre-season friendly at Ibrox prior to the campaign kicking off. It culminated in that glorious Conference League triumph at the end of the season. Look at last season, first of all, Ari. How big a season was it? How big a year was that for you guys?
So it was an insane year, especially given how chaotic the season actually was. For many people that maybe don't know, unfortunately, we went through three coaches last season.
Yeah.
Jose Luis Mendilibar, who took us to the Conference League final and the title win, he was our third coach of the season, our sixth coach in two seasons. It's insane. We started off that season in a rebuild because for the past 2.5 seasons, things were not going so well at Olympiacos. Ever since Pedro Martins in that last season that we had, where we won the title, but it was some of the worst football we had seen at Olympiacos in the Marinakis era. Things hadn't been going well. Coaches were getting fired. Personnel were coming in and out. 30, 40 players a season in and out. It was insane. And the start of last season was supposed to be the rebuild. We brought in a new sporting director, Antonio Cordon, who some people may be familiar with his work in Spain. We also brought in coach Diego Martinez, who was considered to be one of the youngest, kind of hottest coaching minds in Spain, up and coming. And things started off well last season, but then a really contentious derby that involved somebody throwing a firecracker, a player going to the hospital, a lot of issues, point deduction, things kind of cascaded downhill for us.
Mm.
And we brought in another coach from La Liga, a Portuguese coach, Carlos Carvalhal.
Yeah, I know
And
him, I guess. Charismatic guy, isn't he?
he is, and he brought in some important players for us that
Mm.
were really important for the rest of the season. He brought us Chiquinho, he brought us David Carmo, and but he was a terrible coach for us, at least for Olympiacos. I mean,
Mm.
the football was even worse, and he ended up isolating two of our best players, Costas Fortunis and Daniel Podence, two of our most creative players. He ends up getting fired about a month after he was brought in. And that's when we bring in Jose Luis Mendilibar. And when that coach was brought in, the average Olympiacos fan was literally looking at the season like, we're not going to get past the Hungarian opponent, Ferencváros. We're
Mm.
not going to probably even come third place. We might even not get a European spot. That's how bad things were looking. That's how bad the outlook was. Then Jose Luis Mendilibar comes in, uses literally the same assets that were already there, and he takes us to European glory and almost gets us to the title. The title was lost in literally the last week of the season, but almost gets us there and ends up getting us the first ever Greek European title
Mm.
in UEFA history.
Yeah, it's quite a feat. Into this season, then I know you guys are fourth at the moment. A win at the weekend, which ended a sort of a winless run that Olympiacos were on. How is the season unfolding at the moment, Ari?
So in a way, we kind of expected it because this is Mendilibar's MO.
Mm,
He's a European tournament knockout coach, but in the leagues, he kind of has some struggles there. We saw that with Sevilla. He had the same issues there, and we've started to see some similar issues with us. We look great outside of the Lyon match in Europe. The pressing scheme is solid. It looks better, but in Greece against the mid and lower table teams, for some reason, we're having a lot of struggles. And that's where you see, against Panathinaikos, we had a not so good first half, but a great second half. We matched up well against the derby competition, better at least than we have in the past. But for some reason, it's the low blocks, the low table, mid table teams that line up against us in a low block. We have a lot of trouble with that for some reason.
sounds exactly like
Most of it
Rangers.
has to do with efficiency, not for yeah, it's just one of those. It's so weird. And again, it's not for lack of creating chances. We do create chances. You look, we've in the last 5 games, we have 6 goals scored, right? Which isn't amazing for a team like Olympiacos. But when you look at the underlying data, XG, XGOT, even our XG is almost 9. Our post shot XG, or expected goals on target, is over 7. So there's something there. There's something there in the lack of efficiency that's plaguing us in Greece. But
Mm.
the team looks completely different in Europe than it does in Greece.
Yep, pretty much a mirror image to Rangers, I've got to say, Ari. And looking at the Europa League results of Olympiacos, Rangers won in Malmo, as did Olympiacos in the last match day in the competition. Good result at home to Braga, and losing to Lyon. Rangers also lost to Lyon as well. So 2 wins in the opening 3 matches for both teams. So it is poised, set up nicely for that game on Thursday evening. How do you expect Olympiacos to set up and approach this match?
So, save for the Lyon match, we will set up exactly how we have in almost every other game.
Mm,
We'll be using the 4-2-3-1, press first, as we like to say, offense by defense. Lyon was the only match where we sat deeper and played a low block. Mendilibar doesn't do that.
mm,
The lineup that you saw on Saturday against Panathinaikos, that's the lineup we're going to be using. That's our starting lineup, barring injuries, of course. The one thing that will be different, news came out yesterday that our left-footed center back, Lorenzo Pirola, is back from injury, and he will be 100% for this game. He played left back against Malmo, and he was fantastic there. So all signs are pointing that he will be playing left back again, because our starting left back, Francisco Ortega, the Argentinian, he is injured still. And in a way, that's kind of better for us because he's really been the weak point on the team this season. So the lineup that you saw this weekend, that's the lineup that we will have, with maybe one change. It'll be probably Costinha will be starting at right back, and our starting right back, Rodinei, will be playing right wing.
mm. In terms of the danger men and the threats that Rangers need to be wary of on Thursday, who would you say those are?
So in a couple of different aspects, obviously Ayub El Kabi, is his form is picking up from last season. His strike rate isn't as absurd as it was in the second half of last season. I mean, in the second half of last season, he had a goal conversion rate, like goals to shots, of almost 40%, which is ridiculous.
Mm,
Ever since he came back from AFCON, he's been a monster. This
mhm,
season, it's still good. He's on pace to break his 33 goals, 36 goal contributions from last season. So in Europe, he is huge for us. So in that aspect, you have to watch out for him. He's also really key on the press, runs everywhere. And then midfield, keep your eye out for a 17-year-old kid who will be starting, number 96, Christos Mouzakitis. He was one of the best players for our UEFA Youth League winning side last season. So that was our second European title, was the U19. He's 17 years old. He's a starter now in the midfield, and he is just, they call him the Greek Iniesta. That's what they call him
wow.
back in Greece.
Yeah,
Incredible kid to watch. So keep an eye out for him.
yeah, high praise indeed. How is Willian getting on? Is he performing?
Well, he's actually injured right now. He's been
Right.
nursing an injury for quite a while, which has been a little bit controversial. But for the highest paid player, not just on Olympiacos, but the highest paid player in Greece, he's really
Yeah.
not been what we expected him to be,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Yeah. In terms of the environment that Rangers will find when they walk out the tunnel at the stadium, Ari, the Greek fans, historically, we always think it's a pretty hostile environment when you head over there and play European matches. Can they expect a pretty toxic reception when they step onto the pitch?
It will be. Yeah, absolutely. The Yoros Karaskaki gets very loud. You can just check out, we have some vlogs on our YouTube channel. Check out the one for Aston Villa and the one for the final. I mean, it gets insanely loud. Players will tell us when we interview them and we talk to them that, every time they come to the Karaskaki Stadium, that it's one of the most intimidating stadiums. And if the crowd is there, it's a 12th man for us, 100%. For me, having been to the stadium myself and having been to stadiums across the United States, I can tell you there's no atmosphere like it. It really is incredible. So if we have the crowd on our side, if the team is performing well, which the crowd will show up for European matches for sure, it'll be something that'll really play into our favor.
Yeah. Tell us about Marinakis then, the owner, very larger than life character. You may know him, folks, from he owns Nottingham Forest as well as Olympiacos. How has his relationship with the fans over there, and do they feel they're in safe hands with Marinakis at the helm?
So, yeah, this season you're going to find some very split opinions on that. He also owns a third club, Rio Ave in Portugal. Big news also coming out as well today that Arsenal's sporting director Edu could end up coming to Forest Olympiacos. Rio Ave is like a global CEO type of figure. So huge news that's coming out today. In Greece, Marinakis has had a lot of success. He's won, I think, all but 4 titles since 2010. So he's been very, very successful. This season is the 100-year anniversary season for Olympiacos, so it's a very important season. There's been a lot of criticism over the transfer policy this summer by a lot of fans. We lost 2 very important players, Kostas Fortounis and Daniel Podence. Both of them left for Saudi Arabia for big money contracts. And unfortunately, a lot of fans were so tied to those players. They had such a connection to them. There's no replacement he could have brought that would have satisfied what they wanted, which was just to have those 2 players back. So he took a lot of criticism over the summer for that. He's put a lot of money into Olympiacos to the point where, the team has had its losses and he's had to invest 60 million euros of his own money to cover those losses and keep us compliant with FFP. But money with him is, he'll invest whatever. He's a super fan of Olympiacos.
Yeah.
He has Forest as a Premier League club, but Olympiacos is his team from growing up. So, he'll do everything he can to win. He wants to win. The expectation is to win here. So that's kind of the context for the whole situation surrounding Marinakis.
Yeah. So, I mean, what are the expectation levels like this season? I'd imagine the club are looking to go far in this competition and no doubt stage a real title challenge this year and try and win the title back.
So, as I tell everybody, the situation, the expectations for the fans for this season, because it's the 100-year anniversary season, is entirely contingent on what we do in the league. The expectation is that we win the league this year. This is, we've gone 2 seasons without winning a title, which is the most we've gone without winning a title since what we call in Greece the Petrina Chronia, which is the stone years. That was the last time we went more than 3 seasons without winning a title. It is unacceptable for Olympiacos to go this long without winning a title. So the fans want the title in Greece. That's the priority. Management has made it very clear that's the priority. As far as Europe is concerned, if we win the title, I think most fans, if we get to the round of 16, which we've never gone past in the modern version of the Europa League, we've never gone past that stage. If we get to the round of 16, most people probably will be happy. But I think a lot of people want to get to the quarterfinals and do better than what we did. You have a lot of fans that think we should win the whole thing. We have Mendilibar as the coach. This is his competition. He's won 2 straight European titles in a row. Europa League 2 years ago, last season, the Conference League with us. So there's that expectation from a lot of fans as well.
Yeah, interesting. Certainly looking at your fixtures, I mean, Steaua Bucharest FC SB is referred to. I mean, away from home, you'd like to think you would win that. 20, of course, at home. Porto will be difficult. In Karabakh, probably you'd like to think you would have enough about you to go and beat them as well. So certainly expect Olympiacos to make it through to the knockout stage. Weak links, Ari, is there anything that Rangers should be looking to exploit on Thursday?
So a lot of European teams kind of find this funny when I say it to them, but if you want to beat Olympiacos, use the low block. The system that we play, I mentioned before, is offense by defense. We rely on our pressing scheme for games. It is the most important piece. You'll see a player that is playing in our 10 position, our number 10, Chiquinho, but he's not a massive creator. Like, for those of us that grew up with traditional 10s in the 90s and early 2000s, that's not his role. The role for the 10 in Mendilibar's system is to assist in the press. The whole point of this team and the success that we found is that we turn over the ball in the opponent's possession using our press traps and then create big opportunities on the counter. So the whole purpose of the team is to force the ball, pressure your center backs on the restarts, force the ball wide, and then trick the fullbacks into playing the ball centrally, where our midfield is supposed to be anticipating. One of the most important pieces of this team is going to be a player named Santiago Heze, Argentinian player that we picked up from Huracan, very young, was a captain of his team in Argentina back when he was 21 years old. Now, he is arguably the most important piece of this team. He was the most impactful player on Olympiacos last season, according to the CIS Football Observatory, using their metrics that they use. He is extremely important because he disrupts so many plays for the opposition. If you are able to overrun our midfield, if you can cut through our midfield and catch us on the counter, you will cause us a lot of problems because that is where we are having some issues. The press isn't quite where it was last season, especially with Muzakitis, who I told you before, he's 17 years old. He's not perfect. He makes mistakes. But if you are able to suck us in, if you are able to break through the press trap, you will find success in this game. Because if we are not successful in the press trap, we lose the primary measure of winning these matches. If you try to play us open and come at us, that's exactly what we're hoping for. Because we have punched every opponent in the mouth that, again, save for Lyon, because that was a completely different tactical setup. But every team that we've come against that has played us openly and hasn't taken us seriously, we've punched in the mouth early. Aston Villa was a big one. Right now, they're leading the Champions League league phase table. But last year, we punched them in the mouth in the semifinals for the exact same reasons. So that's our tactics. This is how we achieve success. Our creative players generally are supposed to be on the wingers, but we've had some struggles there this season. Gelson Martins will be probably the most creative. And then Rodinet providing the most service into the final third on the right side and into the penalty area with his crosses. So that's really what you're looking at. You want to take advantage of us. You beat us in the low block and on the counter, cut through that midfield press trap. You've got us.
Yeah, but it sounds exactly the same as Rangers. So get your money on a goalless draw, cancelling each other out on Thursday, folks. So yeah, it will be intriguing to see how it unfolds. In terms of a prediction, how do you see it going, Ari, on Thursday? I'm not too sure how much you know of Rangers. They've been a team that are struggling domestically for form in Europe. Rangers fans don't necessarily worry too much. Lyon aside, they more often than not compete right until the end in these matches. Of course, reached the final a few seasons ago as well. Are you confident that Olympiacos can get a third victory in this competition?
So I follow personally quite a few Rangers fans. In fact, one is a data guy that has done work with us that we've collaborated with back and forth over the years. And the one thing that I think will harm Rangers, I know a lot of people have been upset with your striker. So there's that is really good for us because sometimes our center back with the man marking can get exposed, and the speed I think on the flanks, especially on our left flank when Francisco Ortega was playing, speed over there has killed us. But I'm not sure that I see the same speed on your flanks that like we've come up against with Lyon in other games.
Yeah.
But I feel better about these European games than I do our domestic games because the players show up. Our system is made for this. So we see so much more from this team and from Jose Luis Mendilibar. So, and the fact that it's a home game too, we have a return of our castle. This team, this Olympiacos, has always been unbeatable, except for the last couple of years, and now we're back to that. So I'm feeling a little bit more confident. Obviously, by the nature of things, Olympiacos is still the underdog, but I'm feeling much better about this matchup than I am about our matchups in Greece. I'll be honest with you, because the team actually shows up.
Yeah. Yeah, fantastic. If people want to find out more about the great work you guys do, Ari, how can they find you on social media and the likes?
You can find us. We're on every social media platform except for TikTok. We're at 307 International, which is in my handle here if you're watching on video. And you can find us on YouTube as well. We do all sorts of content, Patreon as well. And if anyone's going to be in London, we'll be at the Football Content Awards for the best international podcast that we were nominated for. So we'll be there as well if you're around.
Yeah, fantastic stuff. Right, that was brilliant, Ari. Thank you very much for giving us some insight into Olympiacos. Hopefully you enjoyed that, folks. And we'll speak to you, no doubt, at some point in the future if the two teams ever meet again, Ari. So thank you again.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure being here.
Bye, folks.